Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
We were just leaving the hospital for crazy people when I saw a tall, thin man in a corner of the yard. He kept calling for a pretend dog. He was crying in a soft, gentle voice, "Cocotte, come here, Cocotte, my beauty," and slapping his leg like he was calling a real dog. I asked the doctor, "Who is that man?" He answered, "Oh, he is not very interesting. He is a coachman named Francois, who went crazy after drowning his dog." I insisted, "Tell me his story." The most simple and humble things sometimes touch our hearts the most. Here is this man's story, which we got from a friend of his, a groom. There was a family of rich people who lived in a suburb of Paris. They had a big house in the middle of a park, near the Seine River. Their coachman was this Francois, a countryman, somewhat dull, kind-hearted, simple and easy to trick. One evening, as he was going home, a dog began to follow him. At first, he paid no attention to it, but the dog's persistence finally made him turn around. He looked to see if he knew this dog. No, he had never seen it before. It was a female dog and very thin. She was walking behind him with a sad and hungry look, her tail between her legs, her ears flat against her head, and stopping and starting whenever he did. He tried to chase the skinny dog away and cried, "Go away! Get out! Shoo! Shoo!" She moved back a few steps, then sat down and waited. And when the coachman started to walk again, she followed him. He pretended to pick up some stones. The dog ran a little farther away, but came back again as soon as the man's back was turned. Then the coachman Francois felt sorry for the dog and called her. The dog came closer slowly. The man patted her bony sides, feeling sorry for her, and he cried, "Come, come here." Immediately, she began to wag her tail, and, feeling accepted, she began to run ahead of her new master. He made her a bed on the straw in the stable. Then he ran to the kitchen for some bread. When she had eaten all she could, she curled up and went to sleep. When his employers heard about the dog the next day, they allowed the coachman to keep her. She was a good dog, loving and loyal, smart and gentle. Francois loved Cocotte very much, and he kept saying, "This dog is like a human. She only can't talk." He had a beautiful red leather collar made for her with these words written on a copper plate, "Mademoiselle Cocotte," belonging to the coachman Francois. She had many puppies, and 4 times a year she would give birth to a group of little dogs of all kinds. Francois would keep one puppy and then throw the others into the river. But soon, the cook and the gardener started to complain. The cook would find dogs under the stove, in the icebox, in the coal bin, and they would steal food. Finally, the master got tired of the complaints and told Francois to get rid of Cocotte. Francois was very sad and tried to give her away. Nobody wanted her. Then he decided to leave her far away. He gave her to a teamster, who was supposed to drop her on the other side of Paris, near Joinville-le-Pont. Cocotte returned the same day. A new plan had to be made. 5 francs was given to a train conductor to take her to Havre. He was to leave her there. 3 days later, she returned to the stable, thin, with sore feet, and very tired. The master felt sorry for her and let her stay. But other dogs came as before, and one evening, during a big dinner party, a stuffed turkey was taken by one of them right in front of the cook, and she was too scared to stop it. This time the master was very angry and said to Francois, "If you don't throw this dog into the water by tomorrow morning, I will fire you. Do you hear?" The man was shocked, and he went to his room to pack his things, thinking about leaving. Then he realized that he could not get another job with this dog. He thought about his good job, where he was well paid and well fed, and he decided that a dog was not worth losing all that. At last, he decided to get rid of Cocotte in the morning. He slept badly. He woke up at dawn, and taking a strong rope, went to get the dog. She stood up slowly, shook herself, stretched, and came to greet her master. Then he lost his courage, and he began to pet her lovingly, stroking her long ears, kissing her nose, and calling her sweet names. But a nearby clock struck 6. He could not wait any longer. He opened the door, calling, "Come!" The dog wagged her tail, knowing she was going out. They reached the river, and he chose a place where the water was deep. He tied the rope around the leather collar and attached a heavy stone to the other end. He held Cocotte in his arms and kissed her a lot, like he was saying goodbye to a person. He held her close to his chest, rocked her, and called her, "My dear little Cocotte, my sweet little Cocotte," and she made happy sounds. 10 times he tried to throw her into the water, and each time he lost courage. But suddenly he made up his mind and threw her as far as he could. At first, she tried to swim, like when he gave her a bath, but her head, pulled down by the stone, kept going underwater, and she looked at her master with sad, human-like eyes as she struggled. Then the front part of her body sank, while her back legs waved wildly out of the water. Finally, those also disappeared. Then, for 5 minutes, bubbles rose to the surface as though the river was boiling, and Francois, looking very tired and worried, thought that he saw Cocotte struggling in the mud, and he kept saying to himself, "What does the poor dog think of me now?" He almost lost his mind. He was sick for a month, and every night he dreamed of his dog. He could feel her licking his hands and hear her barking. It was necessary to call a doctor. At last he got better, and toward the 2nd of June, his employers took him to their estate at Bissard, near Rouen. There he was near the river Seine again. He began to take baths. Each morning he would go down with the groom, and they would swim across the river. One day, while they were playing in the water, Francois suddenly called to his friend, "Look what's coming! I'm going to give you a surprise." It was a huge, swollen dead body that was floating down with its feet sticking straight up in the air. Francois swam up to it, still joking, "Wow, it's not fresh. What a find, my friend. It isn't skinny either." He kept swimming around it, staying away from the dead body. Then suddenly he was silent and looked at it closely. This time he came close enough to touch it. He looked carefully at the collar. Then he stretched out his arm, grabbed the neck, turned the body around and pulled it close to him. He read on the copper, which had turned green and was still stuck to the old leather, Mademoiselle Cocotte, belonging to the coachman Francois. The dead dog had come more than 100 miles to find its master. He let out a terrible scream and began to swim for the shore with all his strength, still yelling. As soon as he touched land, he ran away wildly, completely naked, through the countryside. He was insane.